Hello, I'm Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters, and this is an ad for Anchor. That's right, it's an ad for Anchor, and if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. I was really intimidated at first to start this show until I heard about Anchor, and there were a few things that made me feel more at ease to begin. First of all, it's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on a number of platforms, including whichever one you're listening to it on right now. You can even make a little money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And even their ads are easy. The mandatory call to action is something I can state freely. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Doesn't that feel good? This has been an ad for Anchor, and I've been Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters.
Now, giant entertainment, giant terror, the war of the Gargantuas, and Monster Zero.
Do you see anything?
From a planet 50 million miles beyond the stars came a strange message. Lend us your Rodan and Godzilla to fight our Monster Zero. Earth answered, and the most dreaded creatures ever to walk our planet are lifted into outer space. The stage is set for the mightiest battle ever seen by the universe in Monster Zero.
All forces on Earth ready to attack.
What started out as a call for help from space turns into a nightmare of terror on Earth, Monster Zero. And the war of the Gargantua. It began with a mysterious, wild storm at sea, and before the night was over, the whole world would hear of the terror of the Gargantuas. Where had such a monster come from? What forces created such a devastating destroyer? Who or what could stand up to it? Armies fought the monster with million-volt laser beams. Hey, look! Another one! You'll see all of their terrifying battle to the death when you come to the greatest monster movies ever made, The War of the Gargantuas and Monster Zero.
Godzilla!
Hi guys, it's Robert from Record All Monsters. We're here with Taco Boy Designs at Hill Country Comic Con. Can you tell us a little bit about, what inspires your kaiju art?
I love Godzilla when I was little. Me and my dad watched it. My dad passed away, so it was like one of those memories of him. We used to walk towards like Toys R Us and get those big packs of the Destroy All Monsters or the Godzillas. And then they're all like mini tiny, especially going to flea markets, you get like the bootleg ones. So that was always a memory of actually like, I think that's probably like one of my fond memories of going into Toys R Us and coming out with this huge pack of these little kaiju figures and everything else from there. And that's pretty much where it inspired. I wanted to do my own figures, and that's what you see here is what I have.
That's great, man. Well, thanks for talking to us. We'll see you around.
Thank you.
So, what's your name?
My name's Kevin Chin, C-H-I-N.
Kevin, it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, hi.
I've seen some of your art before. Specifically, I've seen the Monster Zero one at Guzu Gallery a couple years ago. So what inspires you to do kaiju art?
I grew up with Godzilla, in the 80s. 1985 was like the thing I just watched over and over and over again. I just love it. Just kind of went into the Power Rangers, giant monster thing. It's like that's what I grew up on.
All right. Well, you got some really great stuff. We're going to take some pictures, put them up on our site. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah. Let me know if you have any other questions.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so what, Julie Man?
Yes.
Your art is fantastic. I see a lot of like Last Unicorn, Hocus Pocus, WandaVision, Labyrinth. how do you decide what you do?
So I just draw all my favorite things from my childhood. I'm an 80s child, and just things that I love that have inspired me, or that I've loved since I was little. And so I love Star Wars. I love all 80s movies. So I just kind of draw. It makes me happy.
And our press passes have your art on
yes, it. Yes, that's so fun. Yeah, I got to draw E.T. So yeah.
Well, thank you for talking with us.
Thank you, guys.
We'll have a link to some of your work and some pictures.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so what was your name?
I'm Christine.
Christine.
And this is Sprinklebat.
Sprinklebat. Do you have an online presence?
Yeah, it's Instagram's at sprinkle.bat, and I have a whole online store that's just sprinklebat.com.
Okay, yeah. So what inspired you to draw monsters, and in this way, this awesome way?
I just like making stuff like really, really stupid and cute. Like just making stuff really derpy has always been one of my favorite things. I'm actually really into like horror and true crime and stuff like that, and there's a lot of darkness in the world, but I like kind of making silly stuff that just makes people smile.
Well, it made us smile. So it's great. We're going to have some pictures of your stuff and some links on the site. Sure. Thanks for talking to us.
I can tell you one other thing. I'm doing a Kickstarter that actually starts this Tuesday that's mostly even more monster themed, because it's about my alien cat design, which is this guy. I also have him as a sticker over here, and I'm making a big backpack like that of the UFO, and a wallet, and a whole series of cryptid pins, and a plushie of my little alien cat.
That's fantastic.
All that's coming out this week.
Well, thanks for talking to us, and we'll definitely have a link to that in our show.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you.
What's your podcast called?
We're Record All Monsters.
Record All Monsters. Do you have an Instagram or
we
something
do.
too?
Yeah.
I'll find you on there just so I can see everything else. I assume you guys talked to Matt Frank this weekend.
Oh yeah, no, we really tried to get over here. We kept walking by, and you were like,
Sorry, what was it? Record All Monsters. Right?
Yeah.
On Spotify, iTunes, whatever.
I listen to a lot of like spooky podcasts and stuff on Spotify.
All right, so we're here now with Spicy Donut.
Hey, how you doing?
And you also draw monsters in a very unique style.
I'm very inspired by like 1920s, 30s animation style. So if you played Cuphead, that's similar, references and that sort of thing. So, very vintage artwork.
Yeah, I see it looks great. I especially like the Freddy Krueger because it's hard to get all the crags and stuff and keep it in that nice round style.
Yeah, there's always something in each piece that's kind of tricky to translate, but I do my best.
Well, and it's Spicy Donut. You have an online presence at all?
Yeah, it's spicydonut.com or on Instagram at @thespicydonut.
All right, very good. We'll have a couple pictures of your art and some links.
Awesome, man.
All right, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
So for me, I grew up in Texas, Garland, Texas, and I was studying Shaolin Kung Fu, and my instructor had seen it like in the newspaper that they were looking for Power Rangers. He said, "Hey, I think you should go give it a shot." He kind of knew I wanted to do that sort of thing, and I was like, "Okay." So helped me put together a little routine, kicks, flips, all that sort of thing, and then I just went to an open cattle call, which was thousands of people in Dallas. They did this all over the States. It would be like American Idol, but martial arts. Right. So so you had, but in the newspaper it did say you had to be a martial artist or a gymnast or a dancer, mainly just to be able to do choreography. And then we showed up, so we do a little bit of the kicking, flipping stuff, and then they brought us back in a couple times. Actually, first they said they kind of did a looks thing, and then they had us do our whatever it was, martial arts or gymnastics, and then we had to come back and read a monologue. And then after that, a couple weeks later, I got called back for auditions in California. Basically the same process, but then I got to work with other people that were potentially going to be on the show with me, and it was a very fast thing, crazy, and fun.
They have been auditioning in California and Canada, and I don't know where else in America, but they had been auditioning. And then they filmed the first movie in Australia, and the producers loved Australia and thought, well, maybe we'll bring in an international flair to the show. So I was just told it was a children's show that was filming in America, so I was like, oh my gosh, I get to go to Hollywood, this is my dream. So I went in for the audition, and the character was called Katherine. And I was like, oh, maybe that's a sign.
It made it easier for you to remember
yes,
the name.
Exactly. So I did a scene, and then the second audition was a martial arts routine, which I hope never surfaces.
People are going to be digging around the internet right now. You've created a monster.
My friend who was a martial artist was like, okay, you're a ballerina, let's just figure this out. We'll do a lot of high kicks. And anyway, the boys are all martial artists, except David Yost, who's a gymnast,
right.
And all the girls, Amy was a gymnast, but everybody else was dancers, the girls. When I came on the show, they were no longer doing out-of-suit fighting. So it was more of a case of, we worked at such a fast pace that they would film second unit, we called it, which was the stunt team, and our unit would often be filming at the same time. So, and also I think there was some injuries perhaps that had happened when you guys were doing out-of-suit stuff.
It did not really show us the old stuff. The only time I ever saw that stuff is when I thought, this show is cheesy, I can go write it. And I went upstairs to the writers, and I was like, I want to write a show. And they're like, okay, and they slid a box over to me with all these old Japanese tapes, and I popped it in and started watching, and this monster was peeing on Rangers, and I was like, I don't think I know how to write this. And so I took it out, and I was like, yeah, there's a faucet monster there, and they ended up using it, and Zio, I think it was, but obviously they cut around that stuff. Yeah, so I didn't see it other than that one time when I was like looking at the different tapes. And they definitely did, especially at the beginning of each season, they would use as much, that was their goal, was to use as much footage from the Japanese as possible. But then you can kind of tell it's a little grainy, all the people in the city are Asian, but there were times they would definitely shoot a lot with us as well, and like you said, second unit would be off doing some things, helmet head stuff. And the only time we really had helmets is if we're about to take it off, So most of that was either stock footage or we had a great stunt team that was out there doing that stuff. When you watch a show like Power Rangers, it's so fast paced and there's things just happening all the time, right? But when you're on set, they're setting up lights and you're sitting in your chair or your trailer and you're falling asleep, and then it's time to go and you shoot like a very short sequence and you go back and you sit down and you wait. There was a lot of waiting, and then to shoot a page would take forever, and you would mostly be sitting around, and then you'd go in to the command center and we would do like 3 different episodes or whatever.
They just tell us to go and change our clothes and come back because they would want to do all the setups from that angle. So we were like, what episode? Who are we fighting? What's going on? It's like very confusing sometimes.
For us, coming on the show, we didn't really even know that we were replacing Rangers. It wasn't really until we got there for the second audition, and then I noticed it was like new black, new red, new yellow, and I was like, in the script, I'm like, what does this mean? And we had no idea. And I remember seeing Jason Frank, and somebody had said, oh, he's on the show, and he was like bringing in a bunch of friends, and we were like, dude, he's just gonna put his friends in the show. We came all the way out from Texas to do this. So for us, it was a bit different.
Kimberly was such a popular character and so loved, and in comes the new girl that was evil and taking her boyfriend from her and all the nasty stuff that happened.
That's right, you were evil first.
Yeah, I was evil first. I really liked the story arc, and I think it was a really good way to say goodbye to Kimberly, but it was hard for me because I was really hated in the beginning of the show.
So we're here with Katherine Sutherland of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Turbo, Power Rangers Zeo. Yes, first of all, I watched all of those when I was growing up. So it is very exciting to meet you. In your panel yesterday, you were talking about how you had a hard time coming in, replacing Kimberly, your story arc. Yes. Was, and you said there was backlash from the fans.
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you replace somebody and people are very attached, it's hard, especially children. They get very attached to their heroes, and so I had a lot of things I had to do to earn the favor of the fans. Yes. Well,
you're well remembered within my family.
Thank you.
And the other thing, you said that most of the female Power Rangers, most of the women had backgrounds as dancers, right?
Yeah, well, Amy Jo was a gymnast, but I believe Twee had done some martial arts, but Karen, me, Nakia, a lot of the girls had been dancers, and that's, we were good at picking up choreography, so it helped.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us. Do you mind giving us like a little, this is Katherine Sutherland of Power Rangers.
Sure.
You are listening to Record All Monsters? Record All Monsters.
Record All Monsters, okay. Hi, this is Katherine Sutherland, the Pink Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Zeo and Turbo, and you are listening to Record All Monsters.
We're here now with Johnny Youngbosch of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Godzilla Singular Point. Johnny, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, yeah.
So yesterday in your panel, you brought up that y'all didn't have much interaction with the original Source show, right?
No, I don't know.
The Sentai show.
They used the Sentai.
They used it, but you yourselves as the actors and.
Oh right, like we didn't watch the
right
series. Yeah, correct. We didn't really watch it. And we weren't. I mean, we knew that it was a lot of the stuff was taken from the original, but we didn't know, or we didn't watch it.
Right.
So we had no idea.
And that y'all did some in-suit stuff, some out of the suit.
Yeah, mostly we did civilian stuff, civilian fights. The movie was different. We did quite a bit of that. Ninja stuff I did. But on the series, a lot of it was stock footage or the Japanese stunt team. Not just Japanese, but Alpha Stunts and the other stunt guys.
Right. Now, with Godzilla Singular Point, how did that go about you getting cast in that?
It was an audition. Yeah, I just got sent an audition for, I want to say a couple of the characters in there, and that was the one that they thought I sounded right for.
You did a great job, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
How was that working with all that techno babble? I know you've done a lot. Of anime voiceover and video games, and that's in there, but it was pretty heavy for this show.
Yeah, this one had a lot of that in there. And it's tricky at first, but once you get a couple of the things down, it's like learning a Japanese name or something in a show. Once you learn it, it's you figure it out. I played various characters that do a lot of talking, and so I'm a little used to that sort of the Itsuki from Haruhi Suzumiya. So I've been through that kind of thing before.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us. Sure. Do you mind giving us a little this is Johnny Youngbosch from Godzilla Singular Point and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You're listening to Record All Monsters.
This is Johnny Youngbosch from Godzilla. See, I can't even say it. This is Johnny. I don't even know my name anymore. This is Johnny Youngbosch. Take 19. What am I saying? What is it again? Listen to All Monsters. What is it?
Record All Monsters.
Record All Monsters. It's Sunday. I was up late with my mom. This is Johnny Youngbosch from Godzilla Singular Point, Adam and Power Rangers, and you're listening to Record All Monsters.
All right, so we're here with Godzilla and Kaiju artist Matt Frank, did you just finish the Trials of Ultraman, or?
Oh, I just I did 2 covers for Trials of Ultraman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what you started out as a fan artist, right?
I started out doing a lot of fan art, and I didn't realize this until I started doing it. I was one of the only consistent Godzilla fan artists posting stuff online, like once a week, back in the mid 2000s. And I think because of just I don't know how much it had to do with the quality of my work, so much as it had to do with me just posting stuff all the time, but and skipping classes to do fan art. But yeah, so that is how it started out. Yeah.
Great. And now you do stuff for for Marvel Comics, for Toho.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing DVD and Blu-ray art covers.
Yeah. It's been really fun.
How does that feel like coming to that point from where you started?
It's pretty spectacular. I think it's definitely a dream job for a lot of artists. A lot of aspiring artists, they want to work officially for the licenses that they work on. As it stands, though, I'm very proud of the work I've done, and I'm very. It is one of those things that sometimes I'll look at it and I'll be like, okay, but why though? But that's also imposter syndrome that just about every artist has, every creative person has, where it's like, okay, but am I really that good? Despite all the people constantly telling you how good you are and how you deserve the success you have. So it's a duplicitous edge in which we all walk upon. But no, I couldn't be more thrilled, especially being a fan of this stuff.
Well, it's really great to talk to you, Matt. And if we could get a little bumper, this is Matt Frank, and you're listening to Record All Monsters.
Sure. This is Matt Frank, and you're listening to Record All Monsters.
All right. So, what was your name again?
Robert Pruitt.
Robert Pruitt. My name's Robert Kelly.
Oh, nice.
So
it's always good to meet another Robert.
First of all, your suit is great.
Oh, thank you.
I've seen it a few times around Austin and stuff. And, what got you started into doing this?
Actually, I was a cosplayer before, and then one year I got really upset and decided to quit. But my friend, his name's Sam, he told me, hey, you really like Godzilla, let's do one more. So I was like, you know what, I'll take it. So he showed me a picture of a guy who did one before, and I was like, I could do that. So that's how I got started.
All right, and what material do you use?
The majority of it is going to be foam.
Okay.
Just polyfoam, anything, the same kind that you have in your couch. In fact, the very first suit I ever built was made just from a couch.
And how tall is the suit?
It used to be 7 foot, and then over the years it's starting to shrink a little bit.
And the outside is also polyfoam?
Yeah, well, everything's polyfoam, then I cover it with quilt batting, and then liquid latex on top.
Wow.
Just so it has that rough texture.
It looks great. It looks fantastic. I had another question. I just forgot. Oh, so it's lighter, obviously, than a lot of Godzilla cosplay suits.
For the most part, but you got to remember the liquid latex that cuts it. There's easy almost a 5-gallon bucket on it.
Oh, wow.
So it gets heavy, and the more I go through a convention, the more I sweat, so the heavier it gets.
About how much does it weigh normally?
Give or take, we say pretty close to 100 pounds.
Okay. And it's got to be draining walking around performing that, right?
It is, but it sits really well. But we've got it designed so that it distributes all the weight, so that it's not too taxing. But about an hour and a half is about all I can give.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see it walking around, and thank you for talking to us. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. It's nice to meet you.
Well, so you were here with Tom Cook, who was an artist with Hanna-Barbera, which, of course, for our audience interested in that is the Godzilla cartoon. What aspect of the show did you work on?
Well, at that point, I had just started at Hanna-Barbera in 1978, and I was an assistant animator. Mm-hmm. So basically what I did is clean up the animator's drawings, make it look really nice, and then do the in-betweens for the show. And so it was one of the first series that I worked on back in late 70s.
That's really cool. And we're seeing here you have He-Man, Thundar, the Jetsons, and the 90s Godzilla series. Do you work on all those as well?
Yeah, I was a director on the 90s Godzilla. I did 5 or 6 episodes of that. He-Man, I was an animator on that. So you start out as an assistant, which is kind of cleaning up the animator's drawings and doing all the in-betweens and all that. As an animator, you're in charge of the whole action that's going to be shown on TV. So that's when I graduated to that in 1981. And then I became a director in the early 90s. As Filmation went out of business, I had to find work. So being an animator, you know the timing of the show, so I got into the directing of the show. So I directed like King of the Hill, one episode of The Simpsons, and a bunch of different series, Extreme Ghostbusters, Extreme Dinosaurs, Savage Dragon, so a lot of things in the 90s.
You're talking my childhood there. It was very nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank
nice
you.
to talk to you. Thank you for talking to us.
Yeah.
Can we get a stinger from you? Like a bumper?
Look at this stinger. I know what that is.
if you could say I'm Tom Cook, Hanna-Barbera Filmation animator. You're listening to Record All Monsters.
To what is it?
Record All Monsters.
Record All Monsters. Yeah. Okay. Hi, this is Tom Cook. I was an animator and director on many of the series back in the 70s and 80s at Hanna-Barbera, Filmation, and Ruby Spears. And you're listening to, what is it? Record All Monsters. Okay, you can edit.